Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer Podcast. This is Deb McBride, and I am recording this in very beautiful Escazú, Costa Rica, where it is January 5th, Sunday in the year 2025. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. And I am grateful for all of you for joining me at this point in the new year, this new day, this new energy, sort of. The sort of new year. Of course, as you recall, Mars is retrograde and it is going to continue to be retrograde. And so when we have an inner planet retrograde, when we start a new year, we are not really entirely starting a new year. We have stories from last year that we are finishing. And I have said this a number of times in the last weeks of last year. And if you want to learn more about the details of the coming year right now, you can collect from my website my masterclass recording of 2025, The Liminal Labyrinth. And I called it that because we are in a labyrinth of navigation of this year ahead, where there will be 4 planets changing signs. Jupiter usually changes signs every year, but Saturn and Neptune and Uranus do not. So this is a big year. We have a big year ahead. I recommend that you pick up this recording. You can get it from my website. If you go to thegoldenastrologer.com and click book online, you will find it in not in the section where you book a session, but scroll down and it will give you an offering of classes. If you want to take the shortcut, you can email me, deb@debmcbride.com or info@thegoldenastrologer.com and ask for the link and I will send it to you. I do put it up in stories on Instagram as well if you're interested, but, it's faster to contact me too. So I am here on this fine Sunday, the first Sunday in the year 2025, to tell you about this week ahead. And it's an interesting ride because as Mars is retrograde, it's going back into the sign of Cancer tomorrow morning at 5:44 a.m. Eastern Time. So it's been in Leo. It went to Leo back in November, and then it got to the retrograde point on December 6th, and it's going to be retrograde until February 23rd. So we've got Mars in Cancer until the middle of April. And that's a long time. So it's going back there. Today's the last day it's going to be in Leo. And tomorrow morning it enters, in this region of the world, it enters the sign of Cancer again, where it was prior to this. So before Leo. So Mars doesn't like to be in Cancer. Mars doesn't like Cancer. It likes Capricorn, the opposite sign of Cancer. And it is in an interesting place because it's moving back into this sign and staying there. We've got at least 3 more weeks of January, all of February, all of March, and half of April. So this is a long, long time in a sign that it's not shining at its best. Now, if you have been experiencing this Mars retrograde, this has been quite a journey already because it feels good. It likes the fire sign of Leo. And so when it goes back into water, it's not that it doesn't like water. It doesn't like Cancer because it likes Scorpio. It's very good in Scorpio. So what we're dealing with are the qualities of Mars, which are, confidence and stepping forward and initiating and a little bit of the warrior there, except it's retrograde, so we're not so much the warrior, and we aren't really as confident as we normally are, and we don't step forward when it's retrograde. And when it's in Cancer, it's about home and family and roots and security and satisfaction. And security, what prevents us from feeling like we are secure? What is the what are the factors of security for us? What does security, how do we name security? How do we feel secure? It doesn't mean blanket the whole world is insecure. It just means that we are reviewing and revising our ability to feel secure and questioning what makes us feel secure, right? And so the experience of that is one of a bit of a deep dive. Cancer is a water sign. We go into the emotions. Cancer doesn't talk a lot, though. Cancer doesn't tell you what's going on necessarily. So we remain quiet. We are introspective. We are contemplating. We are thinking and processing what security means to us. And where it falls in your chart may give you a hint about where security is for you. But also, what do you rely on? Like what, security, there's certainly, I rely on my job, I rely on my this, my that, my family, support system. Where's the support system? And where do you feel supported? Because Cancer is like that. It's the clan. It's the group of the people that you call family, whether it's your biological family or the people that you live with. Maybe you created a new family. Maybe you are in a community like I am, and they're familial. So these things are very pertinent in the moment now, while we start to question this. And now that Mars is stepping back into the sign, remember the other day it met Pluto in an opposition. And I found that to be very empowering. So I found it to be empowering. I had some empowering experiences, empowering thoughts, empowering information. It can go either way. It can be things that are completely aggravating and uncomfortable and, making you have to keep a lid on your rage, maybe, because Mars and Pluto can really, especially when Mars is in a fire sign, things can get a bit out of hand. And when we have Pluto in Aquarius, now we're no longer going to get, Pluto's finished with Capricorn. We're no longer going to get that Mars opposite Pluto. So Mars won't oppose Pluto again until it goes back into Leo in mid-April. So we are in a very interesting first part of the year. The first part of the year is going to be interesting, and that's why I recommended my masterclass, because this isn't just like, okay, it's just a week of Mars retrograde, it's going to turn around. It's not. It's months, and it's stepping into this story again and reviewing it and revising it and working with it. And then it's no sooner does Mars go direct than Venus, about a week later, is going to go retrograde. So then we have more, and that's not starting from last year. That's this year. And so it's going to be this pairing of Mars and Venus, the polarity planets of the masculine and feminine energies, and the experience of, okay, one's finishing, okay, now there's a big switch. Now there's Venus. Venus is going retrograde, and she'll be retrograde until the middle of April, which is interesting because by the time she gets direct, Mars will be going back into Leo. So this is all very, very interesting. And Venus is doing something similar because she's in a water sign. She entered Pisces the other day. She entered Pisces on the 2nd, on Thursday. And that was 10:24 p.m. And she loves Pisces. She's going to go into Aries. She's going to go through Pisces. She's going to go into Aries. And then she's going to go back into Pisces again. So just like Mars, she goes into a fire sign and then goes back retrograde into a water sign. Except Venus likes the water sign and isn't happy with the fire sign, that particular fire sign anyway, Aries, because she likes Libra. So we are looking at both of them going into fire, back into water, from water to fire to water again. Venus is, like I said, now in Pisces, and what she's going to do is she's going to conjunct Saturn, and she's going to keep marching along in Pisces, and then conjunct Neptune, I think it was February 1st. Then when she retrogrades on March 1st, In Aries, she's going to go backwards, backwards, backwards. And on March 27th, she's going to conjunct Neptune again. So she, because there's two planets in Pisces, she's going to touch both of them, Saturn and then Neptune. Now, this is interesting because you know that Saturn and Neptune are changing signs, and I talk about this in my presentation. Saturn and Neptune are going into Aries, and they're going to conjunct in Aries. And so it's interesting that Venus is going to touch both of those planets several times. So she's going to go touch Neptune again on her way back into Pisces, and at like about 29 Pisces on the 27th of March. And then she's going to go back and conjunct Saturn for about a week. She's going to be sitting on Saturn for about a week at about 24, 25, 26. So she'll catch up with Saturn, go backwards past Saturn, turn around, come back over. She's going to be within a degree or two of Saturn. She's going to be spending quite a while with Saturn in mid-April when she goes direct. And that's intense. And then she finally touches Neptune again in the beginning of May when she gets out of Pisces and then goes into Aries. So Venus and Saturn will touch in about a week and a half or so. And then when she turns direct in mid-April, she will touch Saturn again. She'll be with Saturn for quite a while. But the Neptune transit is particularly interesting because she's going to conjunct Neptune, and then she's going to move out of Pisces into Aries, come back and do the Neptune touch again. And then when the third passage is not Venus in Pisces with Neptune in Pisces. Neptune will step into Aries and Venus will conjunct Neptune in Aries for the first time in 168 years. Okay, so this is very interesting and profound. First of all, we're dealing with planets changing signs at the change of the zodiac, and those are going to be profound moments. Okay, we are going to have profound moments of this experience. So now that Venus is in Pisces, we're getting revved up for this. And, she's exalted in Pisces, she's good in Pisces, but this change over that line between 29 Pisces and 0 degrees Aries is phenomenal because it is the place of atonement, the place of surrender, the place of letting go completely and trusting that the universe has your back, that somebody up there has your back, that somebody up in the higher realms of the universe has your back and is listening and is supportive, and we have to surrender and let go. And we're going to have so many, obviously the sun does this every year. Obviously Venus and Mercury do this every year. The moon does it every month. But when we have big guns like Neptune and Saturn doing this at the same time, and Venus is touching them and dancing with them, this is profound. It means that Venus's experience, especially with Neptune, when she is connecting to Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces at the very end of the zodiac, and she's leaving and going into Aries and then comes back and touches Neptune again, and then it's very profound and deep. Okay, because then it's like my teacher used to say, and I've said this before, I may have even said it last week, that degree is Christ on the cross. That 29 degrees of Pisces is Christ surrendering on the cross. The mythology of all of that. Neptune's mythology, Pisces' mythology. It's that. But then it's the resurrection when we get to 0 Aries. So Venus and Neptune are going to go through this dance of surrender and atonement and presence. And I think this is profoundly important for those of us who really do believe in something greater than ourselves in this universe, and that believe in God, Mother Nature, Goddess, Source, the universe, whatever you believe in, this is the moment to really surrender to that and connect to that. And I certainly felt myself when we got to 29 Pisces in July with Neptune tapping into that 29 Pisces and stationing and turning around, which is very powerful. It stopped at 29. It didn't go into Aries. It stopped at the very, very tip of the end of the zodiac and turned around. It was like 29:59. That's crazy. I mean, that it just didn't step forward. And in 1 minute of longitude would have turned everything around in a different sign, a different zodiac. So I felt I was doing interesting meditations at that point and I really felt myself with the ability to tap into source through my meditations. And it was this incredible wash of gratitude. And it was phenomenal. So I would say that in these weeks and months ahead, if you want to tap into something deep and profound and connect with the higher frequencies of the universe, this is the time to do it. This is the time to do it, because once we get into, next month, Neptune is going to be getting ready to end its journey in Pisces. It'll come back the end of this year because it's going to retrograde back into Pisces. But this is a long-standing dynamic with Neptune going to the end of the zodiac. This is a powerful, powerful point for the planet of spirituality, the planet of creativity, the planet of prayer and connection to universal energy. This is a very profound place for each of us to journey to during these next months. So I highly recommend gearing yourself up for something, mystical, something deep and profound in the spirit world. And I'm looking forward to Venus and Neptune connecting in that way. But and remember, Saturn is sort of the antithesis of all of that. Saturn's like, I don't believe in anything. Why bother? I can't connect with anything. And there may be moments when your faith fails you with that Venus Saturn in that place. But it's got to be that the universe wins. Well, the universe knows what it's doing, and it always wins. So we have to give that energy to the universe. We have to give our thoughts and our challenges to the universe and ask for support. So that's a profound, profound bunch of aspects we have coming up. In the meantime, Neptune is busy this week because Mercury tomorrow is going to be squaring Neptune, and it's in the morning, 8:56 a.m. Eastern Time. So we're getting a taste of Neptune's power as Mercury and Neptune connect tomorrow. And they're in the knowledge signs. Mercury's in Sag. Mercury in Sag is asking for knowledge, curious, wanting to deepen its experience of knowledge, And Neptune's, of course, in its own sign of Pisces. So this is, as I'm talking about this, there's a greater reason. Right now we're having Mercury Neptune square. And so this is a great time to start thinking about what you want to put into the universe. What do you want to ask the universe for? How do you want to connect to the universe? What is it that feeds your soul? What is so important that needs your attention and warrants your faith in something? So this is going to be faith. That Saturn Venus may be a crisis of faith, but it's something we have to learn a lesson and move through before we really get the good dose of Venus and Neptune. Mercury is entering Capricorn after it finishes this little dalliance with Neptune on Wednesday. It enters Capricorn, so it's going to get very practical. And of course, this is, the time of year when people get very practical. They start thinking about their taxes. They start thinking about what they did last year financially, how they'd like to improve that this year, how they want to organize their year ahead. And certainly Mercury in Capricorn helps us. The sun is in Capricorn, as we know, and this is all very practical and stable and grounding, which is good because we've got a lot of Pisces energy floating around, and that's going to be visiting with us for a while. So Yeah, so this is a great time to get grounded, be practical, while you have your loftier experiences of Venus and Pisces. Then Mars is going to be talking to Neptune, and that's next Sunday, the 12th. And Mars will be in Cancer at that point, and then making this nice relationship to Neptune, which is, a very lovely trine where they get to talk to each other sweetly and in a flowing manner and comfortably. And so the alignment is of our experience of spirit and creativity and magic and faith. So, Neptune at the end of Pisces is also magical. Neptune in Pisces is magical. Mars trining that is magical. So it gives us the opportunity to create a little magic in our lives with Mars being so aligned with Neptune, Mars being in a water sign. It doesn't mean that Mars is bad and awful things are going to happen because it's in Cancer. It just means it makes it more complicated. But we can define, like I said, what satisfies us and where we can assert ourselves to create the magic in our lives. And what do we want to manifest? That doesn't mean our powers of manifestation have gone to sleep because Mars is in a water sign retrograde. It just means that we may have to do a little more introspection to connect with what we really want to have happen. Okay, so I think this is a very positive experience, of Mars and Neptune. Sometimes they can be a little odd together because Mars is so assertive and Neptune is more passive, but Neptune asserts itself in a way that when it gets together with Mars in a way we don't expect, especially when there's like a square or a conjunction. It's like, wow, there's something underhanded or sneaky or getting hit over the head with energy that we didn't quite count on. But this is not that. This is a very lovely pairing of those two planets that are visiting water signs. Then we have something else important happening on Saturday the 11th, and that is that the nodes are going to change signs. So we have been a year and a half with the nodes in Aries and Libra. And the North Node has been in Aries and the South Node has been in Libra. And the North Node is currently at 0 degrees 26 minutes Aries, with the South Node at the equal and opposite point in Libra. The nodes changing signs. Now, this is another factor in all of this, because the nodes changing signs, first of all, like I said, every year and a half. And they've been in the cardinal signs. And I remember when it was about July 2023 and they went into the cardinal signs after being in the fixed signs, I felt like that it was a welcome, refreshing breeze. It's like, they're out of fixed signs. I don't feel that anymore. So now they're moving again. And it means that they are leaving Aries and Libra. Now they're at 0 Aries, as I said, and that's the cardinal point, the big cardinal famous point, okay? The cardinal axis. And so it's at an important point. A lot of news stories are very heated right now, and like important things. If you have cardinal points, if you have like any of the 0 Libra, Aries, Capricorn, Cancer in your chart, this is going to get triggered right now. But this is very interesting because they are at 0 Aries and 0 Libra. But the North Node at 0 Aries, remember what I just said, Saturn and Neptune are going to 0 Aries. And so we're going, the nodes, they always go backwards. They're going into Pisces and the opposite direction of where Saturn and Neptune are going. So on Saturday the 11th, they are going to go to 29 Pisces and 29 Virgo, and the North Node will be in 29 Pisces and the South Node will be at 29 Virgo. So what does this look like? This looks like, first of all, there they are. There's that 29 Pisces again, where Saturn's going to go, where Venus is going to go a couple of times, where, Neptune is going, as I said. And then Saturn and Neptune will come back to that later this year as they go back into Pisces. And then, then next year again, when they turn around and go back at the end of Pisces into Aries for good. But like I said, Venus is going to visit this a few times. So there's this theme of atonement. There's this theme of surrender and resurrection. There's this theme of letting go and receiving. Once you let go, this is all this 29 to 0 Aries. Okay, so the nodes are going to go there, but they're going to go backwards because that's what the nodes do. So they go to 29 Pisces, and suddenly we are met with that same theme of atonement, of surrender. Now, this is where things get really tricky, because when the South Node is in Virgo, that is our natural inclination to cling to that. That's where the old habits die hard. That's where we're going to go for gratification, and that's where we think what we have to do is hang on to the details, hang on to the Virgo components, details, mental energy, overly focused, maybe a little bit worrisome, because that's what Virgo does. They furrow their brow, they worry, they do all the calculations, the spreadsheets and the math. They've got it all figured out, analyzed, it's all organized, and then God steps in. So, and that's the 29 Pisces. So essentially, you may feel like you are not wanting to surrender, that you got to figure it out, that you got to do all the math, and you got no, no. And what my teacher taught, and he was an expert on the nodes, and in fact, he wrote a book on the nodes. What my mentor teacher, Michael Newton, taught us was that when you've got that South Node in Virgo, or if it's in your chart, the 6th house, and the North Node in the 12th, the experience of that is, God forbid you let God handle the details, because you're obsessive about the details. You're hanging on to, you're clinging to the details. This is so important to not do. This is where we have to put ultimate faith in the universe, source, God, goddess, Mother Nature, whatever you believe in. And and it may be that you have to believe in your colleagues. You've got to believe in your husband or wife. You've got to believe in your business partner. You've got to believe in, the school you've sent your kids to. The people who've got your back. You've got to put your beliefs somewhere, and it may be very tangible in your world. You're handing something over. Or it can be where you are going to fret and worry until you have to surrender. And the thing that happens with the South Node, especially when it gets into Virgo, is we worry and fret and bite our nails because we really have the desire to control something. And we're being told that this is not controllable. Okay, that this is not controllable. This is the universe's job. And so we can do our part and then hand it over. Now, what happens with the South Node is that you are going to spin your wheels in that South Node. Each and every one of us does. It doesn't mean the entire year and a half you will, but there's moments and components of time, and you'll be spinning your wheels. And then you get thrown into, that's it. You get thrown into the North Node. That's it. I'm done. I can't worry about this anymore. And I give it to God. And when you do that, that's when it works out. So, like we've always said, you can't just do the North Node. I'm just going to do the North Node. There's an axis. There's a balance. There's always going to be an ounce of fretting in the background of this, and worrying about the details. Did I get the details right? Did I check all the boxes? What happens when we focus on the South Node entirely too much, which is very easy to do because it's where we are familiar and where we keep going back to it. Like I said, old habits die hard. We know this. We know this routine very well. And it's something that we're confident and capable of, but the universe is asking us to grow. We're being asked to grow, and that is the North Node, because that's the area of fulfillment. So that South Node, where we keep returning to, ultimately when we get no further satisfaction from it, because there's never going to be real satisfaction from the South Node, we just imagine it, it's an illusion, we just kind of can't go on any further, and then get kind of tossed over to the North Node. And that's when it comes alive. That's when we feel fulfilled. So we can connect with both and find the balance. You do your Virgo details, and then let it go. There's some point when you have to turn the paper in or turn the test in to be graded, and you can't go over it anymore. You just have to release it. My mother used to have this saying, well, now I have to worry, she would say to me. Now I have to worry. I'd say, no, you don't have to worry. You choose to worry. You keep choosing to worry. She wouldn't say anything to that, of course, but I would always respond in the same way. Now, you don't have to worry. You just do what your part is and you hand it over. So this is another test of this energy in our lives. The test of the Piscean, at the end of my rope, I have to hand it to the universe energy, okay? When we just have to say, okay, I'm finished. There's nothing more I can do, and I let go. And it's complicated. It's complicated and hard. It's not comfortable. The comfort, we seek comfort from the South Node. It doesn't give us that. It doesn't give us that. So now, once this next Saturday happens, it's going to be the North Node at Neptune. And then Saturn and Neptune and Venus are all going to connect with that North Node repeatedly. And it's very interesting because it's driving us towards that. And we keep moving in the direction of the Piscean energy, the faith, the handing it over. And so this is the theme that we're going to be experiencing these next months. I think it's fascinating that the North Node is showing up just in time for all of this back and forth activity with Venus and Neptune and Saturn at that North Node. So it's going to be an interesting faith-oriented ride over these next months. And if you don't know what to do because you're, clenching your fingers and wringing your hands, you've got to release it and go to that Pisces energy. Okay, that's where everything is going to sort of make sense. It's not going to be comfortable, but it's going to make sense. I really feel like that Neptune at the North Node, that's like your prayers are answered. Like, you got to trust in your prayers are answered. So this is going to be an interesting dynamic. And when all else fails, have gratitude, because this is what moves us forward in our lives. Have gratitude. Tap into the gratitude vibe. And I think Neptune is especially a good energy for, especially at the end of the zodiac, gratitude. For gratitude for where you've been, gratitude for what's to come. When you have gratitude for things that haven't happened yet, you bring them into your field. You magnetize them. You manifest them. With Venus and Neptune together at the North Node in Pisces at the end of the zodiac, this is about saying thank you to the universe. Yesterday I had this wonderful experience where before the sunset, I went out to the main garden and I was standing there and there was a sliver of the moon in the still blue sky. It was still blue. It wasn't really sunset yet. And the fragrance, the aroma of this flower that blooms in the evening. There are flowers that bloom in the evening because their pollinators come out later. They're not blooming in the morning. Well, they're blooming, but they're not fragrant. And there's this incredible tropical flower that grows out of this plant that's kind of shows up. It's not something that we cultivated. It just shows up. It's sort of like a weed, but not really. And it's this little stem of white flowers, and it's like something between jasmine, ylang ylang, just gorgeous, heavenly scented. And I just looked up at the moon, the little sliver, and I inhaled the flowers as the sky got a little more towards dusk, and I just felt so much gratitude for that moment, for looking up at the moon, for the moon and the flowers, and Costa Rica, obviously. I'm very grateful, extremely grateful for Costa Rica in my life here. But it was just that moment. It was so heavenly. And so these are the moments that we're going to cherish over these next months. Look for the heavenly moments over these next months. This is going to be really a special dynamic. So welcome gratitude into your life. Find it whenever you can. When all else fails, turn to gratitude. This is I can't say more about it. I can't say enough about gratitude. It really will change everything. And I have so much gratitude to all of you, for joining me in another year ahead astrologically, for listening, for writing to me, for connecting with me. And anything you wish to discuss with me, feel free to write. I'm at info@thegoldenastrologer.com or deb@debmcbride.com. I always thank you for your letters, for your time, for your lovely thoughts about my podcast. And I welcome you to book a session with me. It's great fun. It's really helpful. It's great to do in the new year. Book your astrology session. Find out more about, the year ahead and how all of this is going to affect you. So it's really vital, I think. And as I always say, like, how do you go the year ahead without looking at astrology, man? And there's expansion mentoring, and my mentoring skills are deepening as I get mentored by people and just learn things all the time. So I'm grateful to those people as well. So I welcome you into my world if you're new to my world, and I welcome you to join me in session, join me in mentoring, and join me every week on this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you on Instagram, The Golden Astrologer. I will see you on the internet. Welcoming you into this new year. Many blessings, much gratitude. Thank you for listening. Blessings to all for your new year.